in there. So that was quicker. Sound problems. I don't know what happened there, folks. You couldn't hear me. Robin couldn't hear me. I couldn't hear my voice through the microphone into the cans. And so I don't know what was going on there. That's never happened before. I've had various other sound issues, but not that. So I rebooted the machine because I just thought, you know what? I can't be bothered looking through everything. It's maybe just easier to reboot the damn thing. And here we are back. So going to be 7:30 people now. Robin is on standby, waiting kindly. And we can, give him a bit of a hard time. And give a few people a hard time, actually, not just him. Somebody is lying. Somebody is not telling the truth somehow, or else saying things that they cannot verify. And we're going to try and get to the bottom of that tonight, if we can. I hope we can. So anyway, we'll have a go. Yeah, okay. Let's have a bit of music just for a few minutes. 3 minutes, people. 3 minutes. I suppose I better, I don't know, just... I don't know. So if you're watching an archive version, you might want to fast forward, I don't know, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, actually. Yeah, 3 minutes. And we will... and then you can, to the top of the show. Yeah, I was a bit thrown there because we had some tech issues and I had to reboot. But it's okay now. At the moment, it could go any time. That just went, I don't know why. But I'm just going to queue up my Facebook and I don't know why. I can't see anything there. When I go, I can't see the comments. It's absolutely useless using Facebook from the point of view of dynamic conversation, which is the whole point of this show, is to have a dynamic debate with guests, call-ins, and comments. But Facebook have deemed it over the course of the last week or so that no, he can't see his comments to his show anymore. Oh no, we don't want them talking, do we? Bloody plebs! No, we don't want them talking, says Nick Bloody Clegg. Incredible. But if you go over to youtube.com, you will be able to see the comments and make comments because evil as those people are at YouTube, quite frankly, and yes, you are. What are you doing with China at the moment? They, on the other hand, are at least allowing me to see the comments, which is awfully kind of them. So, yeah, if you want to go over there to comment, and I suspect that a few of you do want to comment, that's the way to do it. And it's in the spiel, yeah? The address for the show. This empty town. All right. Okay. 2 minutes, 1 minute, 1.5 minutes. But you don't care. Oh, better get my guest. Get your guest, Olly. Like the scars aren't even there you go. It's in the air like a blazing flare. Just stare 'cause the flames won't burn us. I thought you were the one for me. That's why. Robin, 1 minute, sir. 1 minute. You close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. I used to kiss your head when you cried for me. Hold your hand while the pain was over. Keep you warm by the roaring sea. You meant the world to me. Copyright free Cleggbook. Oh, they make me want to cheek, they really do. They make me want to hurl. You meant the world Okay, yeah, that was lovely. That was very nice. But you know what? Let's just get on with it. All right.
1,
I hate Facebook and Nick Clegg. Do. Hey folks. Good evening, good people. And welcome to the Daily Betrayal. Holding democracy to account, fighting for self-determination, and exposing plutocracy. I'm Olly Connelly. Thanks for turning up. And now, Tilbrook case. Is it a scam? Or is he, and me by the way, new development today, being smeared? What are the facts, and who owns them? English Democrats Chairman Robin Tilbrook, who is suing the government over what he cites as the illegal extension of Article 50, the implication being that we left the EU on the 29th of March, and that subsequent relevant legislation is null and void, is here for a Q&A. Taking your calls on UK national number. It's in the spiel, yeah. From 7:30. From 7:30, please. No. Oh, blimey, it is 7:30. From 8 o'clock. From 8 o'clock. I will be extending this show till 8:30 at the latest. The earliest. And we'll see you in the comments over at YouTube only because Facebook doesn't let me see your comments anymore. God bless them. I don't know, maybe Caroline Stevens got a job there. I don't know. Caroline, until you apologise, you're going to be the whipping girl for this show. I promise you that. Yep. I suggest you apologise. You libelled me today. Right. Okay. Robin Tilbrook, good evening, sir. Can you hear me? Oh, what's happened to Robin Tilbrook? Oh, I tell you, this is daily chaos today. Right, okay. I'm calling Robin back. All good fun. All good fun. Robin, can you hear me, sir? I'll tell you, I'm having a 10 call.
I don't know if you were saying anything earlier, but I couldn't hear a thing.
No, it's all fine. Oh, could you not hear the intro? I don't think you could. Okay, that's a separate issue, but everybody else could. That's the main thing. I cannot see your comments over on Facebook, and so I know that a lot of people want to ask questions and what have you. Please go to youtube.com/Daily Brexit. And all the trolls, you must be very disappointed if you're going to troll me on Facebook tonight because I can't see you trolling. Oh, right, which is a pity because I was looking forward to the comedy, actually. Right, okay, Robin, first of all, as you know, we do a bit of news at the very, very top of the show. To be honest with you, I've had to be doing other things this afternoon to pay for this show to go out this evening. And I haven't really seen what is going on. So I'm kind of winging it here. Is there anything that you particularly would say, hey, hold on a sec, this is the story today, Olly?
Well, one thing I have picked up is that Theresa May has to the 1922 committee ducked the issue of changing the rules again.
Oh, have they?
So therefore, Theresa May is basically still there until November at the earliest.
Incredible.
As far as we can see. So I mean, I do think the old ancient Greek saying may apply to the Conservative Party: "Those whom the gods wish to destroy, they first make mad."
Okay. Right. Well, I do have a little bit of information on that. It's maybe a slightly different angle on it. So let me see if I can bring you that, folks, before we get cracking into this. Of course, everybody's going gaga about some, I don't know, welfare recipient just been born. Farage ridicules Verhofstadt as crowd jeers Europhiles' democratic rights plea. No, I think that the maybe the closest angle I can see here is from Westminster. Grassroots Conservatives announced intention to vote no confidence in May. Let's see if they mention the 1922 as well, with an emergency meeting set to be held on the 15th of June. Now, this they don't have a time on this, unfortunately. May the 8th, of course, is today. But they don't. Okay, Tory activists across the country are now readying to vote no confidence in Theresa May. Now, it sounds from what you say, Robin, as though that's an old story, even though it is their top story. I'm just having a quick look to see.
There's never been an instance where the ordinary membership has been allowed to vote to get rid of the parliamentary leader in the Conservative Party.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's distinctly doubtful as to whether or not they actually have such a power.
Right.
Although they are talking about having
the 1922, you're saying.
The 1922, on the other hand, is the committee of MPs. And they certainly do have the power to get rid of a leader, but they bound themselves a while back to a rule whereby there could only be one challenge per year.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And so the question is, will they change the rules? Okay, look, let me just read this story and then give me your take on it. But I think that this is what you're referring to, according to the not so independent, Saudi owned, of course. Brexit may, or partly, May vows to cling on to power until UK leaves EU, despite growing Tory pressure to quit by summer. Theresa May will defy growing pressure from Conservative MPs to speed up her resignation, vowing to stay until Brexit is completed, however long that takes. Backbench Tories will meet later today, they're saying, and this was 4 hours ago, so maybe they're having that meeting about now.
On the news at 6, they had that meeting and they decided not to change the rules.
All right, okay. I'm late with the news tonight. I do apologise, and so clearly are the shag rags. So what you're saying, what they said on the 6 o'clock views from the BBC, because it ain't news, it's views.
Yeah.
They are saying that the 1922 has basically they've fallen in on themselves and said, no, it's all right, Theresa, carry on, darling.
Well, we normally call it wimping, don't we?
Yeah.
Wimp.
Yeah.
Big time.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's pretty disastrous news. Just before we get into the thrust of today's show, because I don't see any other news here that is particularly worth our while. I'll tell you what I will do, though, very quickly.
Can I just say one other thing was on the news? Please? Which was that it looks already as if Labour and the Conservatives may not be able to agree on this, the question of having a customs union.
Really? Yes.
But of course, in the background there has been some talk about Theresa May looking to having a second referendum. Mm-hmm. Which I think's long been our suspicion that that's what she was really all about.
That's right, yeah. But they are at least talking about a three-way referendum now, as opposed to, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't agree with this at all, as opposed to a two-way referendum, which was a referendum about staying in or staying in. They're now talking about a three-way now, at least.
So, yes, but obviously what they're trying to do is to split the leave vote.
Yeah, yes.
So there'll be two leave options and one remain option.
Yeah, that's right. You're absolutely right. Very good point, sir. Okay, I'm just going to give you a little bit of just a bit of a Struth. I was running very, very late today, and it doesn't really help when you're getting libelled by Caroline Stevens, messing up your day as well. So you got to spend time sorting that out too. And having to answer some very silly questions from some other people as well. Frankly, it did really rather cock things up. I did just want to mention one or two other things that are going on. This was actually yesterday, but seeing as the news today is really so Groundhog Day and what have you, I just want to give you an idea of the sort of stuff that is going on a daily basis when you're not looking in the fake stream media, and then we will get into this conversation proper with Robin. So this was yesterday, but hey, just to give you an idea of what is pretty much going on every day, this kind of volume of stuff at the moment. Today, in a nutshell, more nuts than a princely cock. UK's, this was me writing this last night, or 6 o'clock in the morning or something. UK's EU elections confirmed, as is the betrayal, if that wasn't already obvious enough. Brexit Party targets cites at LabCon by seeking parliamentary candidates, says will campaign for a WTO deal. And it is a deal, people. It is a deal. It is not crushing out on a no deal. It's a WTO deal with ancillary deals to keep the planes in the skies and all the rest of it. London Bridge / Borough Market terror attack inquest opened yesterday. And we may remember the day after that, Theresa May, incidentally standing outside number 10, saying how she would put a stop to this terrorism and that it would not be allowed, tolerated, etc., etc., etc. She goes straight off to Marrakesh to sign the UN Migration Compact, which basically means that we are going to have a ton load more unscreened migration. Cheers, Robotez. Unelected President Juncker, named Leader of the Year 2019 yesterday by Euronews, which I guess they now spell Euro spews. And by the way, it's barely May. EU condemns Turkey, calling for an election rerun, despite wanting a second UK-EU referendum and calling for further elections pretty much any time they get the wrong result. First time round, the hypocritical bastards. I seem to have written here, sorry, I'm a bit more rude on my timeline than I am on the show normally. The future king, the Right Royal Charlie, turns full-on politician last night in a Berlin speech, oozing Euro love and peeing on democracy in the process. What a total Burke. He will finish the monarchy within 10 years crowned, mark my words. Theresa May threatens to sue Tory MPs, calling for her departure. Maybe she wants to sue the British people too, just for knowing she's a foreign agent and hating her guts. I'm quivering. Tears. That is actually incredible, isn't it? Might that have had anything to do with the 1922 Today taking a different take on this, do you think, Robin, and deciding that they would let her stay?
Well, her threat to sue?
Yeah. No, yes.
I wouldn't. Most of the criticisms that have been made of her have been made actually in Parliament, and obviously there's parliamentary privilege that prevents her suing. Anything that's said outside could possibly be she could possibly sue for, but then it's got to be something that would lower her in the eyes of right-thinking members of the public. I think that would be quite a task.
Yes. Okay. All right. Fine.
I don't know what your view of her is, but could she be lowered?
I mean, as I say, I think she's a foreign agent. I think that she's a Bilderberger. I think that from the day that she was elected by the Conservative Party, it was clear that we were never going to get Brexit. And I said it at the time, and that it would be extended. And that was what would happen. And guess what? Here we are. I think that she is a traitor to democracy. I know that, in fact, you've just defined being a traitor, what a traitor is, for me on this show, Robin, and I know strictly speaking she isn't, but
you're never going to prosecute her, but that doesn't mean we can't feel she is.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's what it feels like. I absolutely hate this woman with a vengeance. I'm sorry if there's hate speech, Facebook, and you want to ban me, Nick Clegg, but you know what? I think we're being tested here. I think we're being tested. Not only that, I cannot stand the Tory party nor the Labour Party having lied in their manifestos about such a crucial point which affects my sovereignty. I'm absolutely disgusted and flabbergasted. And that is why, sir, your case potentially is so important. But there are those who are calling you a scammer. Are you?
I'm a solicitor. I specialise in civil litigation. Of course I'm not. Okay, look, before we get into the thrust of that, and it's going to be interesting. Before we get into the thrust of that, can you please explain again? Was I correct in my introduction? Basically, that you're suing the government over what just if you could give us an elevator pitch on what the case is about, please. Okay. Yes, of course. So basically, we served our notice under the Article 50 provision in the European Treaty or Lisbon Treaty, and that was a 2-year notice period. It was properly served. It was dealt with under the Gina Miller case's ruling that there had to be an Act of Parliament. Theresa May served the notice. That notice expired on the 29th of March. The simple point is that it's a basic rule of law that when the notice expires, then whatever the consequence is applies. So in this case, we're out. The only arguments that the government could come back on really would be whether or not they got any reason, legally valid reason for extending. We say they haven't, and they've already abandoned one of the lines of argument that they were coming out with, which was that they'd got royal prerogative to do so, and Theresa May somehow had got the royal prerogative to extend time. That's complete nonsense. They've also tried arguing that foreign law or international law trumps domestic law. That's an extremely strange proposition as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. And the third thing they've come up with is that they've got some regulation they've passed under a different act, which is all about implementation rather than when we actually leave. Mm-hmm. Again, I think that's a very weak argument.
Right. Okay, fine. So if successful, just to be clear, this would mean that, 1, we are out of the EU as of the 29th of March, and 2, all subsequent legislation will be rescinded relating to Brexit.
Well, it wouldn't technically be rescinded, but obviously it would be pointless, and it couldn't actually amount to anything. So anything that's talking about or is based on the idea that we're still in couldn't have any effect.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Okay. Right. So pretty important if we can nail this, but there are concerns that people have. Can you explain where the case is now, please?
Yep. So just to take us through it from the beginning.
Thank you.
I started to think that the government was going to go down the route that we've wound up with of an extension, probably beginning of February, something like that. So I wrote to them a pre-action protocol letter, which is what the civil procedure rules require, in late February. I had some correspondence with them. They wrote back to me and didn't really answer the question. They just came up with some diversion comments. But that's still useful because obviously it confirms that they've had my letter and have decided not to engage.
They've come back and said this is fine, but it's not urgent. Actually, is that not correct? The government?
Well, the first diversion point was that no decision had yet been made, which was perfectly true. But then I didn't write on the basis that a decision had been made.
What decision? Sorry. By who?
Usually with judicial review proceedings, which was what I was threatening, you're criticising a decision. Mm-hmm. But in point of fact, you can criticise not only a decision but any administrative action. In other words, anything that a minister does.
Surely there was a decision to extend Article. I mean, we know there was. Somebody had to make a decision.
Not when I wrote.
Not when you wrote. Right.
You're jumping in. I'm just explaining.
Yes, please. Sorry.
What happened in the pre-action correspondence.
Yep. Okay.
And so when I heard that Theresa May had actually decided to ask for an extension, I wrote again pointing out that was illegal and that she hadn't got any statutory authority to do it, and that the only statute in the area of serving a notice is the EU Notification of Withdrawal Act 2017. And that act is, I think somebody said, I was reading recently, 137 words. It's very short, and basically all it does is it gives her power to serve a notice withdrawing the UK from the EU. And one of the good things about the Gina Miller case was it clarified that basically once you've got an Act of Parliament in a particular area of government activity, what that does is it displaces any royal prerogative.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what that meant was that when Theresa May asked for extra time, she hadn't got a statutory authority to ask for extra time, and she also hadn't got statutory authority to agree any extra time.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore we say that it was invalid to ask for extra time or to agree it, and that invalidity means that it's null and void, and that therefore we're out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, right, fine. So we've got the gist of that. There's a bit of a recap for you there on what the case is about and where we are with it. I suppose the last question, just on that before we move on, Robin, please. What are you expecting next? What happens next?
Oh, yes, sorry. I was starting to explain, wasn't I, the procedure, and I then got into a discussion of the merits of it.
It's okay.
So the procedure is that we've done the pre-action correspondence, as I was explaining. Once Theresa May asked for extra time, I'd then written to point out that was illegal, and really, absolutely, as soon as I possibly could, I served the draft papers on the government's lawyers' legal department on the 1st of April.
Yeah.
On the 2nd of April, I went into London and issued the judicial review application myself, and then I took that straight round and served the issued papers on the government lawyers' department on the 2nd of April.
Right.
And they then we also had asked, as part of the application, for the proceedings to be expedited, and the court did have a look at that. The government lawyers legal department was saying that they wanted until the 17th. They undertook to provide us with their sort of defence. In judicial review, it's called grounds of resistance. And they undertook to provide that by the 17th. Sorry?
Mm-hmm. Yes, carry on. Yeah, listening.
Yeah, so they undertook to provide that by the 17th, and they did provide it on the 17th. And that was drafted by the same barrister as drafted the Gina Miller grounds of resistance, which was James Eadie QC,
Right.
who is the government's top barrister. He's their sort of lead figure.
Right.
And in fact, when I was talking to the BBC's Home Affairs correspondent the other day, I didn't actually mention James Eadie initially, but I simply said that it had been drafted by the grounds of resistance archives had been drafted by the same man who had drafted the Gina Miller one.
Yes.
And he immediately said, "Oh, James Eadie," and I said, "Yes." At which point he said, "Well, that shows that the government is taking the case really seriously because they have used their top man."
Really? Yeah. No, absolutely. This is the guy. Sorry. So this is the guy who was the barrister for the government in the Gina Miller case.
Yes.
And this is the guy who you are having to take on with. Is it Oliver Hoare? Your barrister.
Francis Hoare is our
Excuse me.
barrister, and obviously we're at the stage of these proceedings where we're seeking permission from the court to judicially review.
Yep.
The judicial review, there's basically the pre-action correspondence, and then the early stages of a judicial review is the permission stage,
Yep.
and then there's the full-blown judicial review going on to trial. In the Gina Miller case, what they did was they did a rolled-up hearing, so they didn't give a permission, but they had a single hearing at which they did both the permission and the actual hearing.
Right.
That's quite likely to be what they'll do with us, but I'm still waiting to hear from the court.
Okay, all right. Amanda Rodson's asking, why is Rodders not coming on with the good news he had last night? The reason, Amanda, is because I want Robin here only today. Because Rodders is a lovely bloke, old Rodri. And so's Robin, by the way, in my opinion. I certainly hope so, because the country is in his hands. But we're going to find out a bit more about that now. But that's why he's not here. Because we need to get into what is the deal with the funding behind this and so on and so forth, and one or two other questions that people have got, and smears that have been going around, or are they fair? Allegations, certainly they are. So what this boils down, that's all very fascinating, Robin, and it sounds exciting, and it's clearly moving forward, and it sounds as though the government is scared, and judging by the lack of press coverage, they are scared. The Express, I think, has been giving it a wee bit of coverage, and actually Daily Mail as well. But that is
both of those got told off, I think, for doing so. The Mail, the new editor is a Remainer, and apparently was involved in telling them to stop covering it. And in the Express's case, of course, they're now owned by the Mirror.
That's right.
And they were told to stop covering it.
There is not a single shagrag in the UK on those newsstands that supports our sovereignty. That's the reality of the situation since Express was bought by Mirror.
They're far from that. They strongly oppose it.
Yeah, that's right. Right, okay. And we also have a problem with, frankly, controlled opposition within our grassroots. It's something that this show has exposed in the past, and possibly is about to expose again in the next few days. So where we are really here, Robin, what we've got something going forward, and clearly you've been fundraising for it. How much have you raised? What do you need, and how much have you raised?
Well, it is always quite difficult to say how much you need in a court case, because you don't really know what you're going to be put through in terms of fighting the case.
Yeah.
The only yardstick I've really got as to how much we need is what happened in the Gina Miller case.
Yeah. Yep.
And in that case, which, although it was very high profile, it probably actually wasn't as significant as what we're trying for. But nevertheless, that cost just a bit over 1.2 million.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, if we're going to be able to do everything that we need to do, we've got really to have a very big war chest. And
this is going to be more than that, because this is actually what they don't want. In the case of Gina Miller, I think that they, it scuppered things for them, or should have done more than it did. It was actually it was a great benefit what she did for us, as it turned out. But they didn't expect that at the time, did they?
No, they didn't. So that's why, of course, the BBC were giving it wall-to-wall coverage all the time, whereas in our case, they're basically trying to keep it quiet.
That's right. The Brussels Broadcasting Corporation.
What Dominic Castellani was saying to me was that the BBC will cover it once we get permission. Well, you see, in the Gina Miller case, that would in effect be after the High Court had actually heard it, and by then, of course, she had raised half a dozen. Well, probably about half a million, I should think, by then.
Okay, all right. So,
but then, of course, it was in her case, the publicity probably didn't matter quite so much, because actually the vast majority of her money, as far as I'm aware, I mean, I don't know this out of personal information, but from what I gathered in reading about it, I think most of her funding came from various other millionaires and big business rather than.
That's right. Of course, people like Richard Branson and George Soros, and Tony Blair and George Soros and Richard Branson.
Well, she's certainly funded by George Soros now. I don't know whether she was then, to be fair, but her the various foundations that she's working with at the moment to try and get a second referendum.
Okay, all right.
That is, by all accounts, funded by George Soros to the tune of several £1 million.
How much have you raised so far?
So, we have got a number of different ways in which money is being collected. The principal one is through the English Democrats website. There are basically people who are donating on that can specifically earmark what they're donating to the case, and out of specifically earmarked funds, we've got about £58,000 that's come in.
58 grand so far.
Sorry?
£58,000 so far has come in, you're saying? And
specifically earmarked to the case.
Okay.
You've got to bear in mind that it's the English Democrats that are bringing the case, and the English Democrats, like pretty much all the parties these days, the basic structure is it's a company, but it's a not-for-profit company, company limited by guarantee rather than by shares. So people who are members of the English Democrats are not putting their neck on the line by being involved in this. But however, the English Democrats themselves, or as an entity, is on the line in this. So basically, all the money that's been donated to us, generally for the purposes of the party, is potentially.
This is one of the problems that people have, is it not? The fact that this money for the case is being raised by a political party which is actually running in the EU elections, and we can come into some other points about that as well, which I know people are wanting to know. But we're
running in 4 regions.
So how can you be sure that the money is being separated between this case and the funding for the party, for the campaigns, for the
I hadn't finished explaining, had I, what type of funding we're doing. So one aspect is through the party's website. Then some funding has been done by, to my knowledge, 3 supporters who've put up fundraisers.
Yeah.
All 3 of those have handed over quite a lot of money, so that's also earmarked for the case.
Okay. Let's quickly
hang on.
Go on. Okay,
finish.
carry on. Yep. Go on.
And the further option that we've got going is a crowd justice page,
right?
Which of course is if somebody's
that's like crowdfunding,
saying it should only be whatever they're giving, and most people have not been giving huge sums of money. I mean, I'm very grateful for what they are giving, but we haven't had anybody come forward and any of the sort of big funders that one has heard about funding during the referendum campaign itself. So we mostly had money coming forward in relatively small packets of donations. That's absolutely great. But nevertheless, what it means is that what we're going to have to do at the end of the case is have a proper accounting process, because it's really only at the end of a legal case that you actually know how much the whole thing's cost you.
Yes, sure, absolutely. But I'm still curious how you can be sure. I see how that happens with crowd justice, for example. With crowd justice, presumably that is purely for the court case, and it's easy to separate those funds.
The crowd justice is money that will only be handed over on the basis of a solicitor's bill.
Okay, right, fine. In the case of the website, how do you separate between money that should go to the English Democrats to fund your EU election campaign?
Some of the money that's being donated is specifically earmarked for the case.
Right.
But you've got to bear in mind we've already spent a fair bit of money on this already. I mean, after all, we've had council draft the submissions. We've had council draft a response to the government's case. We're in the process of instructing a international law expert, barrister. We're looking at who we can instruct as a QC to actually conduct the trial. There's quite a lot of things that you have to spend money on in order to make this thing happen.
Do you have accounts to date?
No, of course not.
Okay, all right. Okay, so this is in a way.
Anybody who has used a solicitor in the course of a case wouldn't think that there would be accounts to date.
All right. Okay. With regards to fundraisers, then, how can you be sure that they are legitimate? Just as an aside, I know actually we've covered this in a previous show as well. And the first time that you and I had a communique, I did a bit of due diligence with you, didn't I? And gave you quite a hard time. Actually, we had a very respectful tiff, the most respectful tiff I've ever had with anybody with you, sir. When I was asking you about something that did seem to me to be a bit of a concern. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. I like Graham more, yeah, I do. Despite the fact that we've had our differences in the past, and he's come on this show and been extraordinarily rude to a fellow guest, and despite the fact that he actually smeared me over the Ainsworth affair way back, which is all very, very ironic, because a large part of the reason why I exposed Ainsworth was because Ainsworth was giving Caroline Stevens a hard time, and I thought he was out of order. And needed to be put in his box. But anyway, ironies aside and what have you, Graham Moore and I have got a bit of history, yeah. But I like Graham, I have to say, and I respect Graham for the fact that he is quite a constitutional expert, yeah. He certainly knows a hell of a lot more about it than I do. And I find what he has to say quite fascinating from that point of view. But the fact remains, and this is history, yeah, and I'm not saying that people should be judged entirely on their history. In fact, mostly they should not be judged on their history, because people can change, yeah? We learn and what have you, and maybe do a bit of porridge and so on and so forth. Now, he did do porridge. 5 years, Robin, for fraud. Yeah, for fraud. Now, this is going back quite a long time, but the fact is it happened. Now, I understand that he's been taking money and then passing that over to you. Is that the same arrangement with these other two fundraisers as well? And
no arrangement. There's no arrangement. I haven't arranged that. It's just that Graham has been enthusiastically publicising the case. I've done 2 or 3 interviews with him, and some people have donated through him, and he's then passed money on to me, as far as I'm aware.
Okay, look, the bottom line there, and as was said on this show previously by 1 or 2 people in the comments, and I read those comments, are out. People, if they want to, they can donate to the English Democrats site. They do not have to donate to any of these individual fundraisers. I suppose, I don't know. I mean, that presumably is your line, no?
Yes, I mean, I would prefer people to donate to the English Democrats site. If anybody,
I'm not saying there's any impropriety
if anybody's hoping for us to give them updates or anything like that, they've got to donate through the English Democrats site. But if they want to donate through Graham or anybody else who's collecting money, then that's fair enough. If they want to donate through the Crowd Justice page, fair enough. But obviously, the important thing really is there's enough money to be able to fight the case properly, because you've got to bear in mind we are up against Sir James Eadie QC. One of the things that Graham actually showed me, which I hadn't been aware of, was that the government had responded to a Freedom of Information Act request about how much they paid Sir James Eadie over the last 10 years, and it amounts to over £8 million. So, you know, he doesn't come cheap, and nor will anybody on our side if we're going to get to the point where we've actually got sufficient funds to properly deal with the case. And I think the thing that people need to bear in mind is that really the only realistic option that gets us out of the EU is to win this case. Mm-hmm. If Theresa May is left to her own devices, she's obviously not going to be got rid of by the Conservative Party until it's she's done whatever she's planning to do. We're not going to get out. We'll probably wind up with a second referendum. That will be stitched up in such a way that we don't win it. I'm pretty sure of that. And then that will be the end of it. We won't get out.
Okay.
The other thing that people are talking about is that we might make.
Hold on. Let me just draw a line under that then. So the bottom line is that if you want to donate, and my question to you really is: has this always been the case? But what you're basically saying is, if you want to donate, you donate, and it will go into the case, and that's it. No guarantees apart from that. Is that what you're basically saying, so far as the funding is concerned, and that's kind of normal procedure?
I mean, there is no guarantee about what the outcome will be. It's just I think, and pretty much every lawyer that I've spoken to about it, and I've now spoken to quite a few, and by the way, also Francis Hoare, our barrister, has been going around speaking to a lot of barristers about it.
Yes.
They think we've got a very strong case. I was looking at something that...
No, I understand that. I understand that.
A Remain supporting QC had produced the other day, and even he thought that we've got a strong case.
Oh, okay, all right. People can make up their own judgment.
It's not just leavers who think that it's strong. It is actually a strong case, and I think anybody that reads the papers, and I've posted all of those, everything up, so people can see them on my blogspot, which is robintilbrook.blogspot.co.uk.
Yes.
You can read all the papers in sequence there, and you can see that the argument is a strong one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Right, I think that's covered, at least as far as I'm concerned. And if other people disagree, then they're very, very welcome to call in. But please give me 10 more minutes, because there are, and bless him, Robin has got a legal brain, and he expounds on things. I'm going to need at least another 10 minutes to get out the crux of the main questions that we have for people. So you're running as an MEP, Robin. Why are you running as an MEP when we have already left the EU? Does that not condone the EU somehow?
No. What we have is an opportunity to use the EU elections to publicise this case and get round the block that we've had from the mainstream media. So if you look at the leaflet that we're going to get distributed, and after all, one of the advantages of standing is that you do wind up having a free distribution of your leaflet. It makes a big point about this case, and what I'm hoping is that we will be able to get through to people that we've got a strong argument that we're out, and that people will then be aware also that the mainstream media have been shall we say, not producing the news, but instead, as you were saying earlier, the views instead.
Because what some people are very concerned about, and in fact I'm doing a show specifically on this topic tomorrow, is that by voting, for example, in the EU election on, the 23rd of May, on Thursday week, Thursday fortnight, you are condoning our remaining within the EU. Not you. Well, yes, you by standing as a candidate, and every one of us that votes what people are saying. Some people, in my opinion, well, never mind my opinion for now. We'll discuss that tomorrow. People are concerned that we have left, and by taking any truck with this election, by supporting it in any way, shape, or form, we are effectively supporting the institution of the European Union and our inclusion in it.
I think that's completely ridiculous, and utter folly as well. The fact is,
why? Go.
One example that I've given is that if you engage with an invading army, are you then somehow admitting the invasion? If we do not, politics is a zone of conflict. If we do not fight for our corner, then what happens is that the enemy gets their way. So anybody that thinks that by not voting in the EU elections, leavers are somehow getting some sort of moral high point or whatever it is just being absolutely ridiculous, and they're not thinking through what it actually means not to vote. Not to vote means that the Remain side will win the election, and they will then be saying this shows that the mood of the country has changed, and that in fact actually we ought to stay in, and they're already trying to say that. So the idea that there's any sense to not voting or not standing is just ridiculous. And what's more, I wouldn't be at all surprised, frankly, if the view is at root something that the rather calculating Remain campaigns have devised as a way of confusing people into thinking that they're doing good by actually not engaging in the political process.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much indeed. And we are going to do a show specifically on that tomorrow because, in my opinion, that is entirely correct, what Robin just said, and that there is misinformation going around to stop you voting, which will help Lib Lab Con. And I want to know why people are putting that information out. I want to know why people are helping the enemy, helping the EU when they're supposed to be in our Brexiteering camp. Bloody annoys me, I tell you. I think that's absolutely incredible. And I completely agree with what Robin said there. But people disagree with me very, very vehemently. And we're going to have it out tomorrow. Bob Stroud is coming on the show, I hope, who's going to be running as an MP, an independent MP in the next general election, I understand as well. He's pretty politically minded. And he says that I'm completely wrong and that Robin's completely wrong and that other people are completely right. We're going to have this out on the show tomorrow, but that's fascinating to have Mr. Tilbrook's opinion on this. Thank you, sir. And I appreciate that. Right. Okay. So that's that covered. Is there any truth to the allegation that you voted Remain in the EU election, the referendum?
No. And not only did I not vote Remain, I don't think any even of my fairly distant relatives voted Remain. We all voted Leave, and the English Democrats campaigned for Leave as well. And after all, I am the leader and chairman of the English Democrats, so I had a role in deciding that we were going to campaign for Leave. So no, absolutely rubbish.
How can you prove that?
Well, how can you prove anything? I mean, you've got no difficulty in seeing that the English Democrats campaigned for Leave because we were registered as Leave campaigners with the Electoral Commission.
Is there any way that people would be able to hold that allegation to you? To be honest with you, I'm wondering how they would know. Have you ever discussed your voting in a newspaper or anything like that people would have access to the information of how you voted in a secret ballot?
Anybody that's saying
secret ballot
is either the originator of a lie or is somebody who's passing on a lie. It's just not nonsense.
I have to say, I find that question just ridiculous. As I say, it's a secret ballot. How could anybody know how anybody voted in that referendum anyway? But
I think it shows how devious. I'm
trying to be balanced here with this interview, yeah. But to me, that as an allegation is just ridiculous. I have to say, I'm embarrassed asking the question because I know how stupid it is. I don't know, Robin. Please carry on. I interrupted you. I sound as though I'm on your side, and I kind of am on your side in that I want to think the best of you, and I know that many people do. But on the other hand, these allegations are very serious. Some of them, I say they're very serious. I'm not sure they are that serious. Actually, they just sound like silly smears. But the fact is that a lot of people are very concerned about it, and this case will hopefully go forward and move on. And when it does, you're going to be crucified by the tabloids. And if they can get this kind of tittle-tattle from possibly controlled opposition, actually, and I'm really wondering about that, and I'm really wondering about certain communities now over here where I sit, and some very important influencers in the community, frankly, I'm very concerned about now.
Well, I do believe,
but these are questions that it seems to me they need to be addressed now. You need to put your cards on, which you are, thankfully, and I'm very grateful for that now, because later on, this would be a much worse scenario when you've got the whole of Fleet Street effectively. Trying to knock you down, which is exactly what they will do. No, the opposite of what they do.
I do agree with that. They basically, I think the way I look at this is we've got a very strong legal argument. Therefore, our only real weakness is can we afford to take on the government? The government, after all, has got a almost infinite amount of money taken from us as taxpayers that they can use to fight this case. So they're already saying, and if you read their grounds of resistance, they're already challenging whether or not we can afford to take them on. So actually, what the Remainers will try to do is to make it difficult to raise the money to fight this case. That is I think the key and only real weakness that we've got. But I can't see any any option there. Some people have said, could we produce a claimant who could get legal aid? Well, I don't think there's any realistic chance of getting legal aid. And in any case, if somebody did now get legal aid, they'd have to start the whole case right from the start, and they'd be therefore 6 weeks or more behind from where we are at the moment. And nobody else has issued a case about this. There's been I've noticed some talk about Bill Cash issuing a case, or
yes,
Barry Legg. Well, they haven't issued it yet. I'm in communication with the solicitors who are acting in that case, and they have not issued. All they've done is they've written a couple of letters to the
Why
court.
can't
to the government legal department.
Why can't Bill Cash get on board this case?
Well, they're arguing a very strange peripheral point. I've discussed this with our counsel. He can't really see the point of it, because they're producing an argument that the second extension was proceeded with in an illegal way. But the way they put the argument means that even if the court were to find that it was illegal, then it wouldn't actually have any impact. So I do find that a really very strange argument. It seems to me it's sort of designed to fail. I also found
like
it rather
a very
strange.
Conservative Party type thing to do, actually. Yes. I don't trust any of them now.
You could be right there, because there's another point which I also thought was very strange about Bill Cash's behaviour. And by the way, we did share with him the legal argument before we'd even issued. So he and one of the people that I've been working with who was pushing his office, his office specifically confirmed to him that actually that Bill Cash had received our papers and had looked at them. So he was fully informed about this case, and yet he's chosen to go off on something that really can't make a difference. The other strange behaviour in the run-up to the 29th of March, again when he had already been told what the case was, is he started making public speeches in Parliament, didn't he, about how what Theresa May was going to do was going to be illegal. So I thought that was pretty strange for somebody who had seemed for many years to be somebody who actually wanted us to get out of the EU.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if
she
did something illegal, then we could do what I'm trying to do, which is basically get the court to declare that we're out.
So you think he tipped her off?
Well, he was tipping her off. I can't think of any other way of putting it. I mean, why would you tell an opponent that they're about to make a mistake?
Okay, all right. Now, we've got Jamie Miller called in. If you want to call in and put a question to Robin, please do. Now is the time. Well, I have run over a bit, but I'm going to carry on. Robin, can we carry on for another 15 minutes, sir, with some calls? And no longer than that. We are running out of time. Jamie, what would you like to say, sir?
Hi there, it's Windy.
Windy Miller. Hello, Windy. Hello, sir. Thank you very much indeed for what you said to me on a personal note earlier. I appreciate that, because I was feeling so angry yesterday in the show, and the day before, and I didn't do a show yesterday as a result of it, because I don't want to come across as angry to you lot. It doesn't really help. We need humour to help what we're doing rather than anything else. So anyway, but I appreciate that, Winnie. What would you like to say? Now, I've got 3 people queued up already. So what would you like to say, please? And if you're not speaking, please mute your microphone or I will cut you off. Robin, what would you like to say? Wendy, please.
First, I said.
I don't want to come across as angry to you lot. It doesn't really help.
Right, I'm going to cut off. I'm cutting off whoever that is because you know what? I just can't hear. I just can't hear the other people. If I cut you off, Wendy, please. Oh no, I won't. I can see who it is. Right. Okay. I'm sorry. If you want to call back, you can. But please, come on. Let's have a bit of decorum. We're trying to do a show here. Right, Wendy.
Yeah, any time about what I said the other day, mate. But Robin, there's a few questions. Like we've all seen that it was over 100. It was a bit over 150,000 that's being raised for case. Now early, wait. Earlier you said 50,000, just 53 years, whatever, being allocated to it. Now, who's joined in again? Sequid.
No, that's all right. Carry on quickly, please, Wendy, because we're running out of time.
People just want to know where rest of money's being allocated to.
As I was explaining earlier, some people who donated have earmarked their money.
Hold on. Please mute your microphones or you're going to ruin this, you know? Come on. Have some respect. Please, carry on, Robin.
So some of the money that's been donated has been earmarked for the case. Other money has been donated for the party. And that's the difference between the two figures. So money has been donated to the party, and obviously, I mean, you know, we're a political. We raise money for our political causes. Other money has been donated specifically to the case. How that all works out in the end is obviously going to depend on what actually happens with the case and how far down the road we have to go. But I think we've got to assume that we're going to wind up in the Supreme Court.
Yeah, but what I'm asking is all that money that's being donated specifically for the case, is that going towards
Wendy,
case?
we've covered this. We've covered this in length already. Please, let's have a fresh question that I have not asked.
No,
or else tell me how I didn't cover it.
People answered and they didn't hear him say it. They didn't.
Go on.
I never heard him say.
Go on. Because go on, please.
Yeah, it's other people who didn't hear it as well. There was all they heard were like the 50,000.
Right. Okay, so you're just okay. Well, right. Okay. I did see a comment in the comments, Robin, that you mentioned tonight that you had raised so far 58,000, and somebody in the comments said that apparently last week, somewhere or other, you said that figure was 150,000 or something, or 140,000 or something like that. Is that correct? And if so,
as I'm explaining,
where's the disparity?
Some money has been donated to the party is for the party generally.
Mm-hmm.
So people who's donated
other money
for the court case has been duped really, because it was supposed to go towards court case, Robin.
No,
people are not happy.
Nobody's been duped. That's absolute nonsense. The point is that people that have donated who wanted to do just the case, that's fair enough. That's earmarked as such.
For the party generally.
Olly, it's Bob Stroud.
Okay, Bob, what would you... Hold on. Oh, Bob, I'm sorry, I just cut you off. I was cutting somebody off because they hadn't muted their microphone, and it was Bob Stroud. You'll have to call back. But look, one at a time. We've got another couple of folks here as well. Yeah, first of all, though, that is quite an important point, I guess. Wendy, I kind of suspect you're not satisfied with that response.
No, because people donating... who's been donated to English Democrats and to Graham Moore, specifically thought all that money that they were donating was towards a court case, and that's what it was set up for, the donation for the court case.
No, the English Democrats, we're a political party. We receive donations and memberships and subscriptions from our members.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so if some of that money that's been donated towards your MEP election.
money that they were donating was towards
People have donated towards the standing in the European election, yes, as well.
I think you need to make it a lot clearer because people are not happy.
Our Defend Brexit system is one where people are earmarking what they're donating, and in any case, it's sort of a false question in a way because what's actually happening is we are using the money that we're raising for the case to fight the case, and in the end, we need to succeed in this case. That's the key thing.
Can I just say very briefly as an aside, Bob Stroud, I've cut you off twice and I will continue to cut you off. If you call in, and right now I'm cutting you off, and the reason is that you do not have the decency to mute your microphone, and therefore my guest cannot be heard. And it's not very conducive to having a proper debate and getting the answers that people want to hear and all the rest of it. And I'm getting head up now. We have to have a bit of decorum when we call in people, please. And Bob, I do want you to call back, but only with your microphone muted, please. Right, sorry. Go on, Robin. No, please. Wendy, go on.
Right, so when you went live with Graham Moore that time, and Graham Moore says it all the time how much is being raised, we've officially raised, say, 100 grand for the court case, 150,000 for the court case. Who's lying and who's telling the truth?
I don't know what you're talking about there, really.
You do, Robin. I've been live when he said it.
I've done a couple of interviews with Graham Moore, 2 or 3 interviews. He's an enthusiast for the case. That's helpful. It's got the message out there. We need to raise money for the case. We also, as a political party, are raising money for all the other activities that we're doing. I just don't see your point.
Is it possible?
Well, you didn't answer the question.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed, Wendy. Thank you. I appreciate that. I want other people to have a chance as well. But let me ask a question which Paul Perrin puts. The question is it possible that people have donated thinking that it was for the case, but it has gone elsewhere?
No, I don't.
It is...
It is possible.
Okay.
The question you've got to examine for yourself is, do you actually want us to get out of the EU? This is the only way of doing it. Quibbling about whether the people might possibly have donated in the wrong way or whatever.
Robin, that's people.
That's not actually helping anything. We have set up a system that allows people to earmark their donation for specifically for the case. That money will be used for nothing but the case. We've also set up a crowdfunding system which allows people to donate to the crowdfunding system. That is held in an escrow account. We have no control over it whatsoever. We have set up systems that allow people to donate in a way that is specifically about the case. But the idea that we're not going to fundraise for anything else, like for instance standing in these EU election, I just think it's a silly point.
Let me just give you. Let me go. Whoa, Wendy, please. Let me just give you a couple of comments here, just to give you an idea of what people are saying. And again, I think that you need to be aware also of how people feel, Robin, in the before this is a more of a tabloid issue, I suppose. Ray Evans says Rodri has answered this question in the live chat. Jem Manfrey says we do need clarity on this money, as it will put people off donating if this is not clear. Is there a tick box on the website where you can choose where the donation has gone? Well, hold on a sec. Let me just... If I've got this right, Robin, what Jem is saying is irrelevant. Because what you're saying... Now, there are two separate issues here, actually. Because what you're saying, Robin, is that, look, if people want to donate to the case, then they can donate to the English Democrats, they can donate through these other people, they can donate via crowd justice, and whichever way they donate, it will go towards the case. It's if that money may be used for the case, it probably will be used for the case. it might be used for something else. There is a possibility that it will be used for something else as well. And that is the way it works with I can't take any more calls from just quite yet. I will take some more calls in a minute, but I've already got 2 holding. I'm trying to think as well. Oh blimey, I'll tell you what, I need a desk producer. Is it not the case? Is it not the case that this has changed slightly now? That I don't know. Maybe you've got more organised or something. But is it not the case that the fundraising arrangements have become a little bit more sophisticated, but that they were maybe a bit rusty at first, and that people perhaps not necessarily purposely, but perhaps they were misled a bit, that they did think that money was going to go specifically towards this case, when actually that's not really the way it works.
I wouldn't agree with that at all. No, the money that's going for the case will go to the case. Simple as that.
So why is Graham Moore saying we've raised 150,000 towards a court case? And you've been online with let me finish.
Our case, our organisation.
You've already asked that question.
You've been talking to him while I've been watching, and he's stated how much has been raised for the case. People just want to know clarity, because from
I think I have answered the question, actually.
I think you. But this is, I suppose, the problem with having third-party fundraisers, Robin.
Yes, I have not asked people to donate to third-party fundraisers. Although I would just say that the crowd justice system is a third-party fundraiser as well.
Yes, but it's a bit different because it's a bit different.
If people donate to some organisation other than either the crowdfunding, crowd justice page or the English Democrats, I don't, of course, have any control over how that money is used. As far as I'm aware, however, people who have donated to those, the money has been handed over, and of course that is then earmarked for the case.
Look,
I can't really do any more than that. I mean,
to be honest with you,
it's pointless to keep on going over this.
To be honest with you,
we are doing our best.
To be honest with you, you have
absolutely straight about how we deal with the funding.
Look, I got to say, as far as I'm concerned, you have answered the question, but the other people disagree. Look, Wendy, thank you very much indeed. You're going to have to draw your own conclusion. I'm now going to go on to other callers, but Wendy, thank you for your call, sir. So who else have we got here that would like to ask a question?
Paul's
please?
on P Jagger 69.
I'm sorry?
It's Paul P Jagger 69 on the chat.
Hey, Paul. Good evening, Paul. What would you like to say? What would you like to ask?
Evening. I understand the frustration with the last callers with this point about the cash. I really do, and it's one of the reasons why I haven't donated. Robin, I just want to make one final point. Hopefully I can clarify this. On Graham's video interview last week, I heard from your lips that we had raised £148,000. Graham didn't say he'd raised that amount of money. He said he asked you to confirm that he had transferred money to you. That's all he said. That's where the confusion's coming in. It's as simple as that.
Yes, well, I've been trying to explain that obviously some of the money that's been raised is just for the English Democrats. For instance, some of the money, some of that figure would be money that had been raised specifically for the EU election campaign. We as an organisation need the money in order to be able to deal with this case, as well as everything else that we're trying to deal with as a political party.
Okay, so I understand.
But Graham has handed over what money he's raised for the case. So far as I'm aware, I don't. People have been saying about accounts and things like that. Well, I haven't got any accounts, but I think he has been doing a very good job of publicising and explaining what the case is about. I didn't ask him to do that in the first place. He's got involved in doing that. It's great that he has. If people weren't willing to be enthusiastic about this, we wouldn't have been able to raise anything to bring the case forward at all. And then of course we would be stuck in the EU.
For the record, had Graham not done what he's done, I would never have heard about Robin Tilbrook and wouldn't have got involved either to find out what's going on. Just a very, very quick aside, Robin, can you confirm to people, please, that I personally, because as I mentioned earlier, I'm being smeared too a little bit by Caroline Stevens, bless her, earlier today. Do I have any financial interest in this whatsoever, in any way, shape or form?
None whatsoever. Exactly the same, really, as with Graham. You know, as far as I'm concerned,
not the same as Graham. I'm not donating. I'm not fundraising.
You've simply been enthusiastic for what we're doing and wanted to publicise it to your people. And you have got no interest in the case at all, apart from being a patriot, I'd suggest.
Okay, I think it's a great story as a journalist and as a patriot. My word, I'll tell you, we need this to help to work, is my opinion. But look, I'm a human being. I can be wrong too. And guess what? I could be some kind of, I don't know, controlled opposition. You got to think for yourselves, people. It's like when you vote in an election. You don't trust a politician, do you? You work it out yourself and you decide what's going to happen in the course of the, off the back of their manifesto and what pledges they're going to lie on and all the rest of it and so on and so forth. Anyway, just in my opinion is people need to think for themselves and then make a decision. But they need as many facts as possible to help them make that decision. And I hope that's where I come in.
Olly, can I just ask, you mentioned
Robin,
Caroline
please.
Stevens. Who's she?
Oh, Caroline Stevens is a woman who just for some reason doesn't like you. And is basically doesn't like the fact that I am giving you airtime. And I'm very curious as to why, Caroline. I find it most intriguing that you do not like free speech and free journalism.
It's also most
debate.
intriguing as to why she's being difficult about the only way that we could have to get out.
Olly, can I ask you a question, please, Olly? It's Dave Simpson.
Dave Simpson, God bless you, mate. Dave Horny Simpson, who's getting everybody to honk their horns from the motorway bridges. Honk your horns for Brexit. Dave Simpson, thanks for calling in. What would you like to say? What would you like to ask? And if anybody else wants to call in, now is your chance. Dave, one sec. Sorry. If anybody else wants to call in, I will take one or two more calls, but they've got to be very, very quick. But if this is the time, if you want to call in, and I know one or two people, I did cut them off, but I do not want. I want as many people as possible to have an opportunity to have a chat. Sorry, Dave, carry on, please.
Okay, I only deal in facts, Robin, and the facts are that you've stated that £58,000 has gone towards this court case. In excess of £150,000 has been raised. The funds has been put towards the English Democrats to go towards party funding for you to become an MEP. I feel that the public that are commenting feel duped into the fact that the facts are that without this campaign to raise money for this court case, the English Democrats would not raise that sort of money in any way, shape or form to go towards that without that court case. Now, the facts are that the English Democrats would never raise that sort of money.
Okay, you've asked the question, Dave. You've asked the question. I'm good at Bob Stroud. I'm removing you again if you don't mute your microphone. I'm sorry, man. You've got to mute your mic if you call on. I want the guest to be heard.
Have you cut me off, Olly?
The question. So please. I'm not cutting anybody off yet. But if they don't mute their microphones before I ask them to, basically, I don't have a desk producer. Help me out, people. Please, Robin, answer what Dave said. Thank you. Was asking.
Use the microphone.
I think the various allegations have been made there. I don't know whether the person who's making the allegation has actually donated to the case, or whether they're just
what microphone, Ollie?
trying to smear us rather than actually having donated.
I'll have to get my grandson on it.
You've gone, Bob. I'm sorry. If you're going to talk over my guest, then mate, I'm sorry. Please, carry on, Sir Robin.
So, we're trying to do our best for the country here, and we aren't doing it for ourselves in any way. And I do find it quite strange that we're getting all these kind of comments. Frankly, we've set up a system which allows people to specifically earmark what they're donating to the case, and really, I don't see that we could possibly do anything else. Why should anybody assume that every donation that's been made to us, and after all, we are a party that's been going quite a few years now, and we do have a reasonable membership. Why should everybody assume that every donation that's made is going to be only for this case? I mean, some of the money that's donated to us has been specifically earmarked for the EU election.
Robin, can I come back to you there, Robin? You have been going for a number of years in the political scene. Perhaps you'd like to state how much you have raised for your political campaign in previous years. Nowhere near the money that's been raised now that you have put towards your campaign to be an MEP. Nowhere near.
Right.
So
we're
come back to me with some facts, Robin.
No,
what you raised for the English Democrats.
I think the fact of the matter is we have raised over the years many tens of thousands of pounds.
How much?
How much? Well, our accounts have been published. If you want to look
exactly. So how much is it, Robin, that you've praised in the previous year compared to what you raised now to put towards the political campaign? So what's the figures that you raised last year, and what's the figure that has been raised now?
Well, we are doing better this year, but you've got to bear in mind that
give us the facts, Robin. Don't
hold on. Let him answer, Dave. Let him answer.
I'm not sure Dave actually wants me to answer. He seems to be wanting to make a political point for some reason. We are actually trying to do our best for the country. We've been trying to do our best in terms of what should happen with this case. We are the only ones who brought a case. If people want to donate specifically to the case, we've set up a system to allow that to happen. If people want to donate to the English Democrats, then of course, why shouldn't they? And I really don't see why you should
give me two figures, Robin.
Unless you're simply a political opponent.
For the fourth time, Robin, can you give me two figures? What is your highest donation in a year for the English Democrats, please, over the last few years? Or do you want me to tell you?
We have. I'm not sure what our accounts say over the last few years. It depends which year you're going to take it from.
30,000. I think 30,000. Robin, is it?
Sorry.
30,000. Did you hit 30,000 in your highest year?
What is your point, Dave? Because this sounds to me.
My point is that without the campaign for this court case, the English Democrats would not have the funding to promote their political party.
Finally, we have the point.
Hang on a minute, Ollie. You know I'm a straight talking.
We don't have long. I'm already running well over.
Answer the question.
I have answered the question.
You just don't like the answer.
Robin. You've raised over £150,000 towards your political campaign this year. You haven't raised £30,000.
That's not what was being said, is it?
Yes, it is exactly what.
That's not what was being said, Dave. I'm sorry. Look, you know what? I'm going to finish that. No disrespect, Dave, but I want to have my dinner as well.
It's a simple question to answer.
Dave, he said already. He said already that there were things being spent out. They've got a barrister on the case now as well.
Yeah, what I'm saying to you is there's more been put towards the political campaign this year than in all the years put together for the English Democrats. So don't you find it funny how they're spending more money?
We have stood in the EU
well,
election.
if you don't like that, Dave, I suggest that you do not donate. Thank you very much indeed. I appreciate that. Have we got anybody else? We've got Mark P. Conway here. What would you like to ask?
Can I just ask, it's quite a simple one. But first of all, Robin, thank you for your time and your effort you've been making. I appreciate it. My question is, what's the current state of affairs regarding the funds at the moment? How much is actually in the account?
Well, as I think has been said by the previous questioner, I think the figures we raised something like 150,000, something like that. Some of that is money that's been raised for the party.
I wasn't clear. I meant currently.
What's been specifically earmarked for the case, I think, is something like 58,000, something like that. But also in the crowd justice page, we raised nearly £10,000 there. There's basically various different sources where people are trying to raise money for the case. I wouldn't necessarily have the figure.
The thing is, the bottom line.
Okay, that's fair enough. I'm happy with that.
All right. Well, look, let me just say something about this as well, because it does seem to me it's a bit like raising money for a film or raising money for a new business. And by the way, when you raise money for a new business, and I've done this, what you do is you get something called angel, which is angel like angels up there, archangels. You get a bit of angel money, which is just a little bit of money just to start you off. To get the first rung, to get to the first rung. This is a damn mosquito. Then when you're getting into the swing of your business a little bit or what have you, then you go and you get a bit more money, and it's not called angel then, is it, Robin? What's it called? It's seed capital, basically, isn't it? There's a few different names for it or whatever. But you basically raise a small amount of money, and then you raise a bigger amount of money off the back of it. But your backers, the people that donate the money, they do not say, "Oh, how much are you going to be putting into, I don't know, your office cat sort of food allowance and stocking the fridge and all the rest of it? And are you going to be spending all the money on champagne?" They don't ask these questions, people. And stop calling me on my mobile. For crying out loud, I'm trying to conduct a show. Oh, for God's sake. Oh, bloody hell, I'll tell you what. Excuse me. I'm getting annoyed. I'm getting annoyed because of all the technical problems I've had tonight. And it's been one of those days. Look, what happens is that they do not ask these kind of questions, quite frankly. What they do is they say, look, we like the general idea, which is, in this case, the business proposition, if you like, the elevator pitch, if you like, is we're going to get out of the EU because... Article 50 should never have been extended. It was illegal. I refer you to the top of the show. That is the sell, if you like. And then people have to decide, do they want to buy that? Do they agree with that? They don't, for all we know, you're going to buy a new bowler hat. And we don't want that. No, we want you to buy a trilbit. It must be a trilbit. And if you don't buy, for crying out loud, don't be so pernickety. That is not the way fundraising works. I'm just saying, that's my opinion. That is my opinion. Emma Ward is saying transparency and clarity is essential. There's no such thing as transparency and clarity when it comes to an open-ended scenario. They don't know how long this is going to go on for. The God's honest truth is they probably need millions. They probably need many millions. But the bottom line right now is they need to get this case off the ground, because if they can get it off the ground and people see that there is grassroots support, that people are not being sold on some silly line, which is that everything needs to be totted up to the bottom line. Stop calling me on that mobile. They're crying out loud. I'm turning the whole damn thing off. Bloody hell. How rude. If they don't realize, now I've lost my thread, you see. Excuse me. The bottom line is that people need to understand there has to be flexibility here for this thing to get off the ground. If this thing can get off the ground, then they will be seeking to get bigger donors involved. Bigger donors, people that might chuck in, I don't know, a couple $100,000 or $500,000 or maybe a million. And I think Rodri, for example, is underwriting this thing to the tune of $1 million. Those people will come in if they can see, and with the full checkbook out or whatever, when they can see that there is sufficient interest in the case. It's our job as grassroots, if we believe in this man here and his case, and the kind of people that he surrounds himself with as well. If we trust, for example, the QC, Mr. Hoare, if we believe in these people, then they can get a bit more oxygen, a bit more publicity. The thing will go forward. And if it can go forward, then they'll be able to raise more money, potentially. That's the way it works, exactly the same way as it works with, for example, setting up and capitalizing a new small to medium-sized enterprise, or any enterprise, really. Robin, am I essentially correct there? I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you asked Nigel Farage with his Brexit party,
yeah, similar deal.
Is all the money raised going to go towards campaigning for Brexit?
Yeah.
He wouldn't be able to come up with any better answer than I have, because obviously some money presumably has been raised for specific expenditures, but quite a lot of the money that's been donated to his party has probably been donated without any indication as to how that money should be spent.
See, I mean,
as Princess Leia said, you're our only hope.
Go on, Mark. Sorry, what did you say?
And said, as Princess Leia said, you're our only hope.
Oh, okay, all right.
I don't know whether I am, but I do think that this case actually is the only hope of getting us out. I don't see that any of the alternatives actually lead to us coming out. And so you can be absolutely sure I am going to do my absolute damnedest to try and win this case and to get us out. That is a completely watertight commitment.
Okay, so can we just draw a line under this? Mark, please. Can we just draw a line under this financial? Which I don't think people really understand how fundraising works. It seems to me.
I just wanted to know how much it was. I'm quite happy with everything Robin's doing. Fair play to you, Robin.
Oh, you know what? I'm just going to cut you off, mate, because if you're going to interrupt, I'm trying to get a sentence together. People are right. Okay, look. The thing is that people need to understand the way fundraising works. I mean, the bottom line is this: if you like the idea of the case, you donate, and if you don't like the idea of the case, you don't. It's as simple as that. Are there guarantees? Are there any guarantor? Whatever? None. Is that fair to say, Rob? Is that fair to say? Go on, please.
Olly, can I just add to that?
Yes.
Because obviously you've got to bear in mind that one of the things that's happened, and this might be perhaps what one of your previous callers was getting cross about, is that many people who weren't previously aware of us have become aware of us, and of course many of those have then gone on to join and donate. So it
has been very useful.
Sort of a virtuous circle for us as a party, but at the same time,
it's been very good. It has to be said. It has been useful.
The key thing I want to focus on, and that's the purpose of our discussion, is we actually need to win this case. That's the most important thing. And when we've gone through the whole process, then we can do an accounting. We can sort out transparency and whatever else that people were asking about. We at that point will be able to say how much the whole thing has cost and what we've raised that was specific to the case. And it is actually quite straightforward in the end to work it out. But at this point in a court case, it just isn't.
Yeah. Okay. We've got somebody else who's just called in. What would you like to say?
I wouldn't necessarily be able to tell you how much it was going to cost. I could give you a ballpark as to how much it might cost, but that would be a private case where you'd seen similar cases go through the court system. This is a unique one.
Okay. Thank you.
That's why I think we should compare ourselves.
No, I hear that. I hear that. I hope that people understand that, because you have mentioned it now as well. We've got somebody else that's just called in, and we've got Rodri who's calling as well. Who is it that just called in, please?
Yeah, hello. It's Jamie from the comment section.
Hey, Jamie, what would you like to say, sir?
How you doing?
What would you like to ask?
Yeah, I would just like to thank Tilbrook for what he's doing.
Oh, thank you, Jamie.
And also, he's cleared a lot of stuff up for me tonight, which wasn't clear for me at the start, where he says the word earmarked. And I understand what he means by earmarked. That's fine. That's totally fine. But I wish I had known that before. I'd just like a wee bit of advice for Tilbrook. Listen, see if you don't get a grip on the third-party collectors, Mr. Tilbrook. I think your struggle will get harder because it will cause rumours and mistrust if you don't actually get a grip of people that are collecting for you. Because I think that's where the rumours and the mistrust has come from. Because the internet works on mistrust. It's like Chinese whispers. So, as I'm saying, a wee bit of advice, Mr. Tilbrook, just get a grip on the third-party collectors for you, and that's it. But thanks for your efforts for doing that for us, So, go ahead.
The only thing I would say is it's quite hard to stop other people from collecting money. I don't see how I'm going to be able to do that, to be honest.
All right. Well, sorry, Mr. Tilbrook, but it's probably something you should probably concentrate a wee bit on, and not much. But I understand it's a hard job.
Could I just say?
Go ahead.
I'm incredibly busy. I am a practicing solicitor. I've got a full caseload to deal with. I'm dealing with this as well. I'm also dealing with the party. There are only so many hours a day, and I'm afraid I don't know if I would be able to, and I can't even think of any way in which I'd be able to stop somebody else from raising money.
Well, you know what you could probably do is get anybody out there that people see that are collecting collecting. Probably send a message to Olly about people collecting, and even if the person collecting is doing it on their own and nothing to do with just have the internet police it for you and report to Olly, so Olly can get back to you.
No, I'm not collecting anything. All right.
No, Olly. I mean, people say to you about who's collecting, and then you can tell Tilbrook.
Yeah. Well, sure.
I've got no beef with you, Olly.
No, that's not my job.
You're a good man.
That's not my job.
You're a good man.
All I'm doing is allowing people to have a platform to discuss these things, and I happen to think that it's a good idea as well. Yes,
it is. I know, and I thank Mr. Tilbrook for what he's doing, and I just hate to see this confusion. That's all it is. It's confusion.
I suppose the simplest thing is that if somebody only really wants to donate to the case and they don't want any possibility of confusion, then we've got the crowd justice.
That's it, Mr. Tilbrook. Yes, that's it. That's about all I want to say, Olly. Thanks for the chance. Okay.
Good man.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Jamie. Thank you. Oh, alrighty. Okay. Now we have Rodri, Viscount St David's call in several times, and he was the one that was calling my mobile too. So he clearly wants to add something to this, and blimey! Look, Rodders, I don't know why. For some reason, when you call on Skype, I can't patch you in. Everybody else have been able to patch in, but you, no. That is sod's law, isn't it? However, you can call me on Facebook, and I will be able to patch you in that way. Tanis Pullen says, Ollie, turn your mobile on. Yeah, but I can't patch this mobile into the show, so that's no good. It's only any good for me personally, unfortunately. At least I don't know how to use the damn thing even. Right, okay, just a few comments, and I'll just give it a couple of minutes to see if Rodri wants to call in, because I understand he might have something that's pretty pertinent to say, seeing as he is guarantoring this or underwriting this. Paul Perrin says, I don't need or want to collect. I just want leaflets to give out with a link to the legal crowd fund thing. I'm not entirely sure what that's about, actually. Naomi M says people should only donate to crowd justice and English Democrats. Emma Ward says, I appreciate and hope you're successful. the conflict of interest and business partnership with a known con man calls for transparency, in my humble.
Can I just respond to that? There is no business partnership. There's no business partnership at all. So I think that's quite a strange thing to say, frankly.
Yes, no, absolutely. I mean, we're okay, yeah. I mean, I think we've covered that, Emma. Yeah, I think we've covered it, darling. Lynn Scott says the crowd justice is best option to save confusion, but it need publishing. Well, I think it is. I think people, at least around here, are pretty clear on it now. And by the way, when Robin was on the show last time and we discussed exactly this, which is why I'm a bit frustrated to be discussing it again, to be honest with you. The advice was donate at the website for the English Democrats. Paul Perrin says a Bluetooth dongle would let you patch your mobile into the PC. Blimey, I tell you, I need various dongles. Sandy123, don't do Facebook, but it's probably a useful tool. If they allow you to read the comments on your own show, which they won't for my show. So that's why if you're on Facebook and you're wondering why I've not been reading your comments, it's precisely that reason. I cannot see them at all. In fact, let me show you just briefly what I can see on... Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. It's going to confuse the tech even more. Look, Viscounts and Davids is trying again. He's trying again. But you're not here, are you? No, it's not working. Your Skype isn't working. Please try Facebook, sir. Sir, please. I would like to hear what you've got to say. But I also need to go. Because like Robin here, who probably needs to go too, and is being very polite, because I know what he's like, now you're calling on Facebook again, Viscount, on Skype. Please listen. It's not working. It's not working. Can't patch it in. I don't know why. It just doesn't work. I try. I press the same buttons as with everybody else, and it doesn't work. Like Robin here, guess what? I have to work too to fund this show. So I'd really, really appreciate it if they do like what I'm doing with Daily Brexit, to bung us a few quid too, because frankly, I am running on fumes, as I say, and it's true. I mean, I had about 20 quid last week, which I'm grateful for to the person that sent it. But it's very, very difficult, and we have to. I think it's fair to say that genuine Brexiteers of whatever persuasion. I mean, for example, I had Bubba Kate Paris on here, bless her, the other day. Oh, Viscount Rodders, he's on here now. She was on here the other day. She's not getting paid, is she? She's on the NEC for UKIP. Very responsible job. She's working very, very hard. And she's not getting paid. And she's having to do other things. We're all having to do the best we can, it seems to me, true Brexiteers. Whereas all the remorons are getting funded by the likes of Soros to troll us. And goodness knows what else. I tell you, it's absolutely incredible. Emma Ward, thank you all. Good night. Great live. Would love to join the convo tomorrow, Ollie. Respect and good night all. Emma, lovely. Thank you. Right. Viscounts and Davids. Rodders, God bless you, sir. Good to have you back on the show. What would you like to say?
Well, first of all, I was determined not to interfere because you're in Robin's extraordinarily capable hands. But I was getting a little bit frustrated by the line of questioning over funding and accounts and what have you. Mm-hmm. I think, as an executive summary, Robin has moved extremely quickly as not just a solicitor, but as the chairman of a political party, which is a job in itself. Mm-hmm. Robin has moved very quickly in the last 2.5 months to bring a major constitutional challenge against the Palace of Westminster. Yeah. And it's been an iterative process, in my view. Robin has built himself a very capable and professional team in very quick time. And I'm sure you won't mind me saying, but cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. Well, Robin, having taken the initiative, for which he should be congratulated, again, going from A to call it B to where we are now, requires a lot of work, a lot of input from people with different skill sets. And again, that does not happen overnight. Collecting money through the English Democrats is perfectly legitimate. There are no two ways about it. And as Robin has said, he's running a political party. And at an early stage, we discussed exactly this point. And that's simply why crowd justice was set up, to provide absolute crystal clarity. So these sorts of silly accusations and these silly smears could be dispelled. I'm glad that we did it at an early stage so we can move forward, complete the fundraise which is required, which is £1 million. On the last show, Olly, we described or discussed the strategy, and the strategy is this. We set £10,000, which is neither here nor there in the overall scheme of things, as the first target, so that we move to stage 2, which is the stretch target, which enables us to raise £1 million, and it's never been done before. On a justice website. We have a very clear and concerted plan which provides absolute transparency. Robin is concentrating on some fairly fine legal detail points, not least getting the best possible legal advisors, because after all, we are taking the Palace of Westminster to court. I mean, it must have been a daunting challenge for Gina Miller to take decision-making out of the House of Commons because they couldn't sort things out themselves, and to actually take it to the courts of law to decide what is correct and legal in our Constitution. And we find ourselves in the same position. And Robin has done this within a 90-day period. I mean, absolute hats off. Yep. So to put up with, frankly, what I consider to be fairly petty, mealy-mouthed critique over accounts at this stage, Frank, it's absolute nonsense. And as the case unfolds, no time has been wasted in bringing pressure to bear on the government, nor on the court. And if you look at the time frame that Robin summarised earlier, the pre-action protocol was absolutely spot on, and the government responded correctly. Well, until March the 29th, you don't have a case. And it's ironic that it was the 1st of April, the earliest possible date that Robin could serve the papers, happened to be the date. And again, the only reason I phoned in, again, having sort of promised to be hands-off at this stage, I didn't want to cut across Robin anyway, is I was just getting very upset with people's lack of understanding of what it actually takes to bring a case which is expected to go to the Supreme Court, the fundraising that's involved, the technicalities. Again, there's been a blackout by the media, so that's another strategy that we've had to think about and consider. And, Robin has created a crack squad around him in a short period of time. So I don't understand any of these. Well, if people want to smear the case and smear Robin, well, that's just smearing for the sake of it. That happens. That's part of daily life, I suppose. But in terms of constructive criticism...
Well, it's an industry. It's an industry, isn't it? It seems to me that it's an industry. People smearing Brexiteers in any way, shape or form. That's why I can't see the comments at Facebook. That is the reason I cannot see the comments at Facebook. Because this show is allowing Brexiteer grassroots to debate amongst themselves.
Well, we're not going away. And again, Robin has built in very short order a crack squad around him, and it's just growing on a daily basis. And that will become more apparent when we actually get a listing date. Robin has moves afoot to accelerate the process. And again, he's got a lot of very good support and good advisors around him. And I think, why should Robin be a master of absolutely everything? That's what teamwork is about. It's having the correct advisors for the right bits and bobs. And that's what he's built around him very rapidly. And that's it. So anyone who wants to criticise for the sake of, critique, well, go to hell, frankly. If you actually want to understand what it takes to build a battle from scratch, to win a war, which is going to be highly complex, highly expensive, well, unless you've actually done it.
That's right.
There's a basic tenet. There's a basic tenet. Lead, follow, or fuck off.
Now, this is a family show. This is not the Billy Bonus edition, which is late night. It is late now. It is late.
I haven't taken my pills for Tourette's. Apologies, I'll take them now.
That's all right. That's all right. Okay.
Anyway, I will love you, and I won't interfere anymore. But anyway, that's what I have to say as an executive summary, in my view.
Modest, thank you very much indeed. That was very eloquently put. I appreciate that. And if you've got anything else you'd like to add, Robin, because you are here to defend yourself, I
hope I did defend myself. I mean, I do agree with a lot of
Not
what
as,
Roger has said.
not as
But,
well as
you know,
your- not as
with the three of us, let's face it, are only involved in this because we actually care about the country and we care about Brexit. We're not actually getting anything out of it.
Look, I just want to restate my position because it's a little bit odd here, yeah. Because generally speaking, a journalist is a journalist, and that's it. But I want to point out, Daily Brexit is not actually, strictly speaking, first and foremost, a journalistic vehicle, as it says on the tin. If you look in the About section, at least on Facebook, I don't know that I've ever changed it on YouTube. Maybe I should. But on Facebook, I know for a fact it says that this is a campaigning vehicle for Brexit. Okay, first and foremost, yes, I am a journalist, but Daily Brexit is a campaigning vehicle for Brexit. And of course, it is very much based around journalism. And who knows, every now and then, hopefully, a little bit of comedy too. But the bottom line is that it is a campaigning vehicle for Brexit. Now, with regards what these guys are doing, I have no association in any way, shape, or form, except that I like to think the best of everybody, if I can, and have done, proven on this show. And to the point that Caroline Stevens libeling me earlier just absolutely amazes me, because I've supported that woman very, very much. Anyway, there you go. I guess we'll find out what the deal is with that. But look, the fact is, people, that so far as my association with this is concerned, I support it because I'm a passionate Brexiteer. But in terms of journalism, I asked the questions. My first question to Robin was, is this a scam? Are you a scammer? I'm asking the questions. I personally am satisfied with what I'm hearing, and will continue to get these guys on the show to give us updates. And I am hopeful. And I know, I see, and doing this show over the course of 300 shows now or something like that. My word, I have seen the controlled opposition and how it messes us around. I have seen how the Remain campaign has big pockets, and it's affecting us all that care about the sovereignty of our country. And I'm just making a judgment here. That's all. I'm having to make a judgment. Now, I've made judgments in the past which have been incorrect. And people have seen that in the way that the show's gone along. You know, we're all human, yeah. I have been hoodwinked in the past, I think, over certain political operators who turned out not to be what they had purported themselves to have been. And so that could happen again. I don't know. That could happen again.
Olly,
but
Olly,
I personally, that's my take on this. Personally, I will keep supporting these guys, rightly or wrongly. Rodri, what would you like to say?
Olly, I was going to say there's a certain comedic value to the question, is this a scam? And if you're a scammer, are you realistically going to pull off some sort of scam by taking the British government to the Supreme Court? I mean, it's a bit like commissioning for murder on Facebook. You know, you've got 500 supporters and you're you're advertising for a hitman. I mean, it's complete nonsense, and there is that comedic value to it. If you're going to pull a scam, you certainly don't do it in front of the Supreme Court by taking on the Palace of Westminster.
I want to say a very, very big cheers to my guests tonight. To my guest, to Robin Tilbrook. Yeah. Is this going to work now? Is this going to work? I'll tell you, this machine is slow. It said, there you go. Whoa, well done. Oh, why are there so many mosquitoes in my study? I can't believe it. I am surrounded by mosquitoes. I haven't opened the door during this show. Hey, sorry? Good guy. I tell you, I know you've heard this before, some of you, but these things, I kill them. I swear, they reincarnate as career politicians. Yeah, and I also I've got to sort this fader out because these guys are on the same fader as the music, so I can't talk to them during this outro, which is a pity. But God bless you. Thank you so much, you two. Rodri, always good value. I'll talk to you both again soon. Robin Tilbrook, thank you very much indeed for coming on the show, sir. I hope it was a sufficiently tough interview. And I hope that people are, satisfied. At least I hope they know basically what the deal is. And now they can make up their own minds without being told by some clique. They can make up their own minds. Make up your own minds. This has been Daily Brexit. I'm Olly Connelly.
I can hear you perfectly. I can't hear I can hear a squeak out of Olly, but that's about it.
I can't hear anything.
Oh, that's peculiar. That is peculiar. Yeah, guys, I heard what you said, but they can out there. That's the important thing. Right, okay, so tomorrow, Bob Stroud, I'm going to have another go with him. Tonight, I'm sorry, Bob, when you're going to call in, you've got to have caller etiquette, and I had to cut you off. You've got to mute your microphone when you call in. Yeah. But tomorrow, Bob, I would like to invite you as my guest, and Emma Ward, I think, wants to join in as well, to discuss this point which Robin covered his opinion on it in this show. Should people vote in the EU elections?
We are doing our honest best.
Should they vote? If people are saying they shouldn't, we want to find out why they're saying that. Okay, all right, that's it. God bless you. See you tomorrow. Here's to us, 7 o'clock. Here's to us, and bugger plutocracy.